At the end of the day, is the reviews on Amazon is going to be, it's like the Amazon. When we remove a 1-star, that equals anywhere from stars. So the impact is pretty crazy. And some people, when you drop down from a 4.3 to a 4.2, you can lose anywhere from of your sales. That is a lot.
Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Shane Barker from TraceFuse.
What exactly does TraceFuse do? We help Amazon sellers remove that violate Amazon's guidelines or own rules. Our goal was always to take the headache of off the plate for sellers, because that way it's one less thing they have to worry about.
What do you think's the bigger impact of the two? Is it getting more 5-star reviews, or do you think it's removing the negative review?
Well, I can say that it's
Welcome along to the next episode of the Seller's Journey podcast, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Shane Barker from TraceFuse. Welcome along, Shane.
Hey, Ant, man, thanks for having me, man. This is exciting. I've been thinking about this since we've been scheduling it, man. I get to talk with Ant. I mean, look at this. This is an honor.
Yeah, what brilliant. I mean, we've had some great conversations, and we'll get into a little bit about what you do, etc. But I think, just to begin with, it'd be great just to get an intro for those of the listeners that won't have come across you before.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Shane Barker. I really grew up in the digital space. So I've been, done anything from influencer marketing to SEO, websites, all the fun stuff. And we've done that for a number of years. That's at my main company, my main brand, which is shanebarker.com. And used to teach at UCLA as well. I did helped create the influencer marketing program there with a colleague of mine, Amanda. So yeah, just a long history in the digital space. Have pretty much owned my own businesses all through this whole thing, because online was always really intriguing to me. Used to own a bar in Chico, California, which was another conversation, selling alcohol to college students, which isn't too difficult to do. It's not too hard of a subject. If the prices are right, they're going to come and buy. So yeah, and that's really my background. It's been pretty extensive, mainly in the digital space, some offline stuff. Used to work for a big restaurant called Chevy's. Used to open restaurants for them. This is when I was a little guy, right? This is a long time ago. I just hit 50 this year. So I'm not even going to tell you how long ago. Yeah, man. Yeah, the lighting makes me look a little younger. Yeah, I got my makeup artist in the morning. Yeah, you gotta do it, buddy, because if not, people go, God, he's really ugly, So you gotta do whatever you can to try to look sexy on these kind of things. But yeah, that's really my background.
Yeah, awesome. It's been great. I think we got introduced, through Nick Fenev, and we've had a couple of calls since then. It's always been a great time speaking to you, so really looking forward to this. Obviously, you're the founder now of TraceFuse. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about TraceFuse?
Yeah, absolutely. So TraceFuse, I'll kind of give you the backstory. So TraceFuse, the reason we started TraceFuse is I had some clients of mine that were like more direct to consumer on Shane Barker's side of things. And I asked him, I said, hey, what are your biggest pain points at Amazon? Because I was always looking to build like a SaaS-based product or, something like that. And I didn't do it in the SEO space or influencer marketing because I had a lot of friends that were also in that space and who would have been competitors, which, there's healthy, there could be some fun in being competitors with people. But I jumped over and realized, hey, a lot of these people are having issues with Amazon reviews. And so we kind of tried to figure out the angle, right? Is it just reviews that people don't like? And that doesn't really make sense, because I think there's some good things when people write bad reviews, right? So what I mean by as if you're a seller is that it's important to take a look at that, and there's a lot to learn from that. It might not feel great, right? Because you feel like you're being attacked or somebody's coming after you. And so I don't think there's an issue with those reviews, because once again, the product that you had 10 years ago and the product you have now is probably very different, and you wouldn't know what to improve unless you had some constructive criticism. So I'm sure they'd probably like to have it offline, not have it be online, but there's different ways of doing that. So we looked at that and said, okay, let's kind of figure this out and see what we can do. And I was, I always tell everybody this, I was a little too, I would say, cocky or confident, and thought, oh man, give me a few weeks or a month, we'll figure this out. We'll go ahead and figure out how to remove reviews. Well, it took us 2 years. It was not an easy process. There's just a lot of things, Amazon's moving things, and Amazon's a big platform, obviously, no different than Walmart and everybody else. So, you can't expect for miracles, right? When you're filing these cases, it was obviously a little more difficult than we thought it was going to be. But the good part is about 5.5 years into this, minus the 2 years, it'll be about 3.5 years into this. And now we work with over 600 brands, and we moved over 14,000 reviews. So we are the only, and fully compliant with Amazon. So we're the only ones that's had any kind of success like that. And we've built it into a nice SaaS product that is really white glove. We do all the things for you. So what exactly does TraceFuse do? We help Amazon sellers remove critical reviews that violate Amazon's guidelines or own rules. So guidelines mean that, somebody cuts in a review, they mention competitors, pricing, anything like that, anything FBA related. So if something got shipped out late, broken, or used, that's an issue with Amazon, right? Mistakes happen. And that's not necessarily, it's not a problem with the product. So those are the things we look at. And our third thing that we look at is really fraud. So we look at if somebody maybe has a buyer's account, maybe a competitor has a buyer's account and they're buying your product and, buying it over and over and over and giving you a 1-star, that gets flagged in our system. And then our filers will go and take a look at that and see, once again, if there's other people that are giving your competitors that have a very similar product and they're only giving them 5-star reviews, then we would file an escalation case with Amazon. But as I said, most of this stuff is going to be things that are in violation of Amazon's own rules. And so we file on those to get those removed for our clients.
That is a solution that I wish I had 10 years ago when I first started out at Amazon, because the amount of, I don't even know how to say it. It's like, it was just pure frustration trying to ask Amazon to remove reviews that were so blatantly not compliant, blatantly against Amazon's review policy. I don't ever remember being able to get one removed. So yeah, I mean, blimey, that would have saved me hours of frustration.
You're not alone. I'll tell you right now, because I do all my demos with all of the sellers, and I meet with anywhere from 20 to 60 sellers a month, or a week. And I ask them the same question. I say, hey, have you ever been able to remove any reviews on your product listings? And 99% of them say no, we've never had any success. In fact, what most people say is, I didn't even know this was possible. We just thought it was, it is what it is. And everybody just skipped over it and said, hey, it's just, I had a seller one time say, it's like having a rock in his sandals. He goes, I can still walk. It's just really, really annoying, and it's like, but a rock that you can't remove, it's like you can't even go and grab it. So you're like, I'm just going to keep walking. And that's what I think a lot of people did. A lot of people don't know that this is even possible. And so, we jumped into space. We were the first company to do it. I tell you, everybody was like, man, this isn't possible. I don't know why you're saying this. And so we really had to go and say, hey, listen, and get creative and say, hey, listen, give us an opportunity. We can do this. It took us 2 years to figure it out. And now we've gotten some amazing traction. And now people, hear podcasts and hear from other customers that are having great success with us. And then they reach out to us. So we're very fortunate, not to mention it helps to have a little bit of a marketing background. So, I'm able to get number one for just about any term I want online and stuff like that, just because I have an amazing team. So anyways, yeah, good things are happening, man. We're excited about helping sellers. We know it's already hard enough to be a seller. And if they can not have to worry about reviews, obviously that could be a blessing for them.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's brilliant. And I think the thing that really like about this is there's so much focus, especially, I don't know what it is, especially over the last 3 to 5 years, so much focus has shifted to PPC. And, everybody talks about PPC as it's so important. And of course you can't really scale efficiently or properly without a really good PPC plan in place. However, I feel like what this has done is it's kind of put the organic side of things a little bit on the blind side, and people and sellers and even some agencies kind of forget that what's the point in you paying to send traffic to a product that isn't at optimal conversion, isn't ready to kind of convert. And I'm really interested to kind of talk a little bit more about the effects of negative reviews, because there's so many different directions we can go in. But from an organic perspective, this is something that sellers can do where they're going to see an instant uplift, right? Because if you get poor reviews removed, I think I'm right in saying the average review is going to increase, which is then going to affect, their ranking. And, it's going to have such a positive knock-on effect. So what are the main things that you've seen? What are the kind of the big wins that you've seen from this?
Yeah, I mean, so I can tell you about some of our clients that have had some big wins and some things that we've seen. Also, if anybody goes to TraceFuse.ai, there's a little drop down that you can go and look at our testimonials. We have video testimonials from all of our clients that have had good success with us. So we take that very seriously. I love removing reviews and helping sellers, but I also love it when I get a great review and knowing that I'm really, we're really making an impact. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day is the reviews on Amazon is going to be, it's like the core of Amazon, right? I mean, it just is. If you think about it, us as consumers, the minute you go on Amazon, whether you think about it or not, you go and look at the reviews. It's just hands down what you do. If it has under a 4.0, you're probably going, I don't really know. If it's a product that there's tons of competitors, you're going to the competitor. I mean, it's just how it goes. Most people go in there and the search they will start is, hey, I only want things above a 4.0. Well, guess what? If you're a 3.9, you're not even in that search. So what happens, I believe, and I think you're right with this the last few years with PPC, is that people were like, all right, PPC I can somewhat control, right? Because I can look at conversions and how much money I spend and all that kind of stuff. The organic thing, you can control it, but I think that people start to get a little frustrated when they start getting bad reviews and stuff and saying, okay, I can't fix that. I can try to get more positive reviews, which is obviously the goal, but PPC is something if I pump money into, I can see if I pump in $1, I make 50 cents or I'm going to be losing 50 cents, right? Like where it's a little bit more, I mean, it's not that cut or dry, but I do believe that is probably what people thought is said, hey, organically it becomes a little more challenging. Well, another thing is too, which is very unfortunate, is that, you start sneaking up in certain categories in organic, people start to attack you. So I think that's also another thing, not that you don't want to go up, in the BSR and be number one, but that's another level. I mean, we've seen this in supplements, we've seen this in pets and beauty, because the lifetime value of those products are a lot more, right? Like if you're going to take creatine, right? You're going to take it, let's say you take a bottle a month and you use it for 3 years. Well, guess what? You're worth $40 times 36 months. That's $1,200 to $1,500. So what happens is you have a competitor that will come and say, hey, I'm going to come and buy your product at $40 and I'm going to give you a 1-star review because I know that will tank your BSR, it'll tank your star rating. And this usually happens before Christmas or Prime Day or summer, or there's a strategy, not a good strategy, but there's a strategy behind that. And so I think that's the other thing is people look at that and go, hey, I'm going to, of course you want to get as highest as you can and get your sales up. But I think there's a somewhat of a safe zone, if you want to call it that, and a zone where people are going to get on people's radar. And so not to say that you shouldn't go after number one for the BSR, like, hey, don't let anybody scare you. It's, whether it's Amazon or Walmart or Shopify or anywhere, like there's going to be competition and things might happen. I mean, you can't be in this business and be scared, right? But you definitely want to go and be educated and figure out what you need to do. But I'll tell you that the hard part is, we talk about reviews we talk about getting more positive reviews. Well, depending on how old the review is, when we remove a 1-star, that equals anywhere from 10 to 25 stars. So the impact is pretty crazy. Now, I will tell you, a lot of people don't know this, but your 1-star that you got 5 years ago and the 1-star that you got a month ago, they're weighted differently. And the reason why Amazon does that is because 5 years ago, you had a different product. And Amazon kind of understands that, hey, over time, the 1-star today is probably going to be more relevant than the 1-star 5 years ago. Because in theory, you probably made some changes to packaging, to a formula, to something, right? That's what we look at. We always tell people, obviously, hey, get as many positive reviews as you can. That's a no-brainer. I shouldn't even have to say that out loud, right? I mean, that should always be the goal. But if we can knock down 1, 2s, and 3s, what we call critical reviews, or Amazon calls critical reviews on the back end, then you should see this swing that's going to happen even faster. And so, our big thing, one of the things we were helping sellers with is monitoring. That's a big thing. Is like, hey, great, we go and clean up your listing. We can go back to when your ASIN was created. Great, we grab those, we collect those reviews, we file on them. And then we also monitor you moving forward, which is peace of mind. That's really what we're looking to build there. And there's no monthly fee for that. We don't charge a monthly fee to monitor. It's absolutely baked into our program. So the cool part about that is now you're being monitored. Now you can, these reviews, somebody comes in and attacks you, my team's going to see those reviews, we evaluate them, and then we manually file. And what I mean is that there's no automation on Amazon. We don't use AI to file anything. We do have AI in figuring out if the reviews are against Amazon's guidelines, but we manually file with Amazon because our goal is to be able to get as many reviews as moved for the client, right? I mean, if we can get them back up to, some people, when you drop down from a 4.3 to a 4.2, you can lose anywhere from 10 to 50% of your sales. That is a lot because you lose that half a star. So, what we're looking to do is if you're at a 4.3, you don't want to drop to a 4.2. But I tell people to be more proactive than reactive, right? You don't want to go, oh, crap, now I'm in a situation, right? I've just lost 20, 30% of my sales and now I got to get back up. Now we're going uphill. If you were to do the monitoring and we were already monitoring you, guess what? When those reviews come in, we're going to see them and we're going to be filing on them. Our goal is to be more proactive, keep them at the star rating. You guys know that we'll be all over that because, you know this, man, as sellers, you guys got a million things to worry about. You got growth, PPC and tariffs and, whatever, accounting, there's a million other things. So it's like, our goal was always to take the headache of reviews off the plate, for at least the negative reviews off the plate for sellers, because that way it's one less thing they have to worry about. But it is something you worry about, or you should worry about. If you've heard about us and you haven't signed up, you got to really take that in consideration because you definitely want to be monitored moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think it's something that perhaps people underrate, don't feel as if it's that important? Or is it more, do you think that people just don't know that it's possible to get these ratings removed?
I think that it's people just don't know. I think most of the people, if you're selling on Amazon, you're looking at that star rating in your BSR. I mean, that's where you're at, right? That's how you're evaluating your sales and where you're at. So I think that most people just don't know and they're not aware of it. Like, I mean, if you go look up like Amazon removal service, like we're number one for that, right? And I get quite a bit of people that will come in and say, hey, I just Googled you, because I asked them that too, being the owner, hey, how did you hear about us? And a lot of the times I get a lot of Google traffic, as well. And we do PPC as well, just, like I said, we're number one for certain keywords, and we also do PPC. So we like to do both. I like to dominate anything I can and at any time. So, I take that very seriously. But yeah, I mean, I think they just don't know. They don't understand that this is possible. The good news is they can probably talk to people, there's plenty of testimonials on our website, but also other people and saying, hey, what have you heard about TraceFuse? And like I said, we built a good brand. And so I think that's, we want to get out to more and more people. We want people to know about what we've got going on. And the good part is, as I said, I do all my demos. So when I do these demos, I really like to talk to sellers, and I'll even tell some of them, hey, maybe this isn't the right time, right? Maybe this doesn't, or I'm very, very realistic about what the outcome could be, because we have Amazon that needs to remove them, right? We don't remove the reviews. We just know how to file cases. So we have to be considerate of Amazon's time and how long that might take. It's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take a little bit more time. That's why we always encourage people to be proactive and not reactive, right? Start today, let us get in there, file some cases, get some things removed, and then hopefully by Christmas, you guys will be all cleaned up, depending on how many reviews you have.
Yeah. Is there like a benchmark, would you say? So like if you went from a 4 to a 3.9, is there a point where you go, when you make that drop, that's when you see a big drop away?
Yeah, I mean, depending on category, but yeah, when you drop down to a 3.9, that really starts messing with your PPC costs, right? I mean, because then a lot of the times you can't even advertise if you're at a 3.9, depending on what that looks like. So that's a huge one. Each drop down 0.1 has some ramifications. The 4.3 to 4.2 is the biggest one that we've seen. And like I said, we have a few testimonials of clients that came to us at a 4.2, got into a 4.3, and obviously they were pretty happy about that. But 3.9 is, you're getting into the danger zone, right? I mean, if you start slipping from there, you got to look at this, unless you're doing just tons of sales and you've been around for so long on Amazon, you're like one of those ones that kind of grandfathered in, not to say that you can just get a terrible ratings, but they know you've been around for a long time. You kind of like, okay, this isn't just some new person coming in with a brand new product that everybody hates. They have consistent growth, and they might have a little bit of an issue with something, or maybe the reviews, like we had a client, or it was a potential client. We ended up moving forward with her, but she was saying political stuff. She hired somebody that was very pro whatever it was in the US, and that really, people started writing reviews, and it really tanked her product because of who she was representing, or who was representing her, not because of her product. So we went in and, our goal was obviously to go in and take a look at that. She just had a lot that was going to need to be cleaned up. And so we decided not to move forward just because of, the pure amount of stuff that was happening to her. But that really crushed her, just going after that and people coming after her. But the reviews were not about the product, but she got such an influx of bad reviews. It was just one of those things. It was just kind of a crazy situation. But, you got to be careful. I always tell people, be neutral with anything. I don't care, politics, anything. Don't just think of this as your baby. Your goal is to make money. So you don't want to make 50% of the people of the world mad at any time, right? And be nice. Be Switzerland. Look up Switzerland. That's a nice country. They just quiet. They stay to themselves,
It's in the background. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it, to think that could kind of influence people and, get them to put negative reviews on. I really feel how important this is because, in my years as a account manager and working with Amazon sellers, I've seen products get crushed due to bad reviews. And, I think sometimes they perhaps have been valid, that the product's not been great, but there have definitely been times where it's pretty obvious that a competitor's got a hold on this and just kind of ripped it apart. And yeah, I mean, I've seen products literally just get taken away because the brand are like, well, look, we can't sell it because of these reasons. And I find that really sad. So, basically what your system does, correct me if I'm wrong, is not only is it going to act as a service where you physically go in and remove the bad reviews that you think you can remove, but it's also going to give you notifications when you receive bad reviews, and perhaps when you receive reviews that might not be kind of considered favorable. How kind of in-depth is that notification? Is it like, here is the review, so you can physically then go, well, that's an unfair negative review? Or is it just that it's a low review so that you can go in and do the rest?
Yeah, so we actually created TraceFuse to be what we call a set it and forget it software. So when somebody comes in and activates an ASIN, we have a backend where they can activate an ASIN. When they activate the ASIN, what that does is we just grab those critical reviews and we run them through our AI software, and it just tells us whether it's compliant with Amazon's guidelines, and then we file cases. And so what happens is the client will never necessarily see all those reviews because we look at them and we know which ones, we know which departments to file with, we know what to say in the case filings. We also know, how long to wait for Amazon to respond. respond. We have all that set up. So once they've activated that ASIN, they don't have to do anything else. They can go on the back end and there's going to be removals in progress. They can see the reviews that we've either sent emails to Amazon or filed cases on. So that's where they'll be able to see the reviews and they'll be able to see what we're doing in the back end. We just call it the last action date, right? Because they don't need to know everything that we're going back and forth with Amazon. What we're trying to do is just telling them here, because they only pay for reviews that actually get removed. So, we say, hey, listen, you guys can either look at the removals in progress or not. But once we move it over to the remove tab, there's a way for them, they click on the review ID and they'll be able to see that review's actually been removed. And that's when we charge them. So yeah, most people are very just kind of hands off. Hey, we know you guys have it under control. Some people will say, hey, can I send you some reviews that just came in? Our system already detects them. So I'm like, you can do that, but you're doing double work. You have to realize that we only get paid when reviews get removed. So guess what? We're going to do everything we can, obviously compliant with Amazon, to get those reviews removed. So that's always, when sellers are like, hey, how do I know that you're going to go after these reviews? And I'm like, well, because I need to feed my family. Right? You want reviews removed. I want to remove them. There's never a point that I would want you to have to come and say, hey, we have more reviews, Shane. What's going on over there? We're going to want to be filing on those and keeping that listing clean. So once again, we like to make it so that the seller it's one less thing they have to worry about. They can go and get confidence with the software and what we've built, the dashboard. And then the goal is for them just to focus on everything else that anything else that they're worried about. Not that they can't reach out. We have a great customer service system or program, but at the end of the day, it's like, I want them to have to just forget about us. I want them to just know that we're moving stuff on the back end and helping to be able to get those sales back up. That really is always the goal.
Yeah. And what do you think is the biggest kind of plus side that you see to increasing somebody's average review count? To me, there are going to be so many benefits. You've got the conversion element, you've got the visibility element, you're obviously going to get a bit of a boost in the algorithm. You're going to get more eyes on your product. So what do you think is the main metric that you see improve when you increase the review count?
Well, really everything that you're doing is going to increase conversions, can increase sales, right? You get cheaper PPC costs, so you can have a higher budget there to do more ads. It's going to help you with social proof. People are going to look at this and say, oh, wow, they got a 4.3 out of 5.0. That's something that I want to go after because you have the visual of the 4.5 stars. There's so many different things that play into. If you have bad reviews, nothing else matters. If you're down in the 3.4s, you can do a PPC campaign, but people are going to look at that and go, so what are you doing? You're throwing traffic to a product that you're telling the whole world that nobody wants. Right. And I hate that brutal, but it's so now you're really trying to force people to buy something that everybody else didn't like. So that's the hard part. You have to clean up those reviews. You touched on it earlier and you said something that resonated with me is you have these brands that have great products and they had to go out of business because of the reviews, right? Whenever you put out a product, right? When you launch a product, nothing's perfect. You might think of it as everything being perfect. And then guess what? It goes out to the real world and they dissect it and tell you what they like and what they don't like. And this is ridiculous. I didn't know how to do this and I'm going to return it. Those are all things that happen. You just have to, bob and weave with that, right? It's like a boxing match. You got to figure out how you're going to get out of there, get to round 2 and round 3. So, that's what you have to really look at is okay, what do we need to do to understand what people are saying and be able to improve that product? That's going to be very, very valuable. But I'm telling you, let me put it this way. If you're a brand and you're listening to this and you launched a product that you can't do anything with because you have terrible reviews, reach out to us. I might buy your company, or help you remove the reviews. Seriously, I don't mean that in a predatory type way of hey, I'm going to come. But if you're done with it, reach out to us. Those are the kind of companies I love to help because if I can get them back up to where they need to be, whether I would buy the company or not, but really at the end of the day, it's this is how people feed their family. I take this very, very seriously. This is not just a paycheck for me. This is hey, if I can help a seller, like I said earlier, when somebody leaves a review, obviously great, I like invoicing day. That's awesome. We make some money and we're helping people. This is great, right? That's a win-win for me. But when somebody leaves us a testimonial about how we help them get from here to here and oh my God, this was made it so they were able to save the company, that just brings me so much joy because I've been there. I've been on that side. I've sailed, I've done stuff and it's just man, if somebody could just throw me a bone and help me out, it's man, I'm doing everything here, right? It becomes very frustrating. So anyways, but yeah, man, that's awesome. I love the fact that to be able to help sellers, that's our big thing.
I think it's super important. And, like I said, right at the very start, it's something that I'm really passionate about is driving the organic element and, really giving yourself a good platform to then advertise on. Because that's the important thing. And I think that's the bit that people, tend to kind of skip or skim over. We know we've got a great product. We know it will sell. If we just get enough people looking at it, then it will start to get traction. Maybe that's true. But if you've got a good product that's got a good review, average review with good review count, plus all of your nice, titles, all of your information, all of your nice images, then that is going to really, really, push you on further. And I think many might not agree, but I always start with organic first, and then you drive traffic to a really good listing. To me, that makes a lot of sense rather than doing it the other way around, trying to drive traffic and put it into a listing that's not quite converting. And yeah, obviously the more traffic you get to that page, technically the more sales you're going to get. But imagine how much more you could convert if you started off with the organic element and really kind of honed in on that first, to then pay for traffic to start hitting that listing.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. And I kind of touched on this earlier, is like saying, hey, if you look up any keywords for TraceFuse, we are number one for almost all those keywords, and we do PPC above that. So we did exactly what you're talking about. We went in organically because guess what? If I stop spending money on PPC, I always have organic, right? If I don't do organic and I stop PPC, guess what? I'm not being seen anywhere. So it forces you to have to spend that budget on PPC, which is okay and great, but wouldn't it be nice if you're able to get that from an organic perspective? Because we were getting an organic perspective and getting a lot of leads from that. And I said, I'm going to double up on that and do PPC. So with what you're saying, that resonates with me. I think that totally works. Like, you want to go after organic because there's work that happens, but then it's just work to stay there, right? Which could be some work, but it's not going to be like PPC work. Like, you just have to stay in that position and figure out what you need to do to stay there. And then that PPC should come home and just drive that home. So I'm with you 100%, man. That's what we do exactly on our side for our stuff. And it's worked wonders for us.
Yeah, incredible. And then have you got any kind of sort of real kind of success stories from a client that you've worked with that you can just kind of give us a bit of an example of the effects that, getting a higher average review count is going to give a brand?
Yeah. So we have, once again, we probably have 15 or 16 video testimonials on our website of clients that have had great success. Some of them come for, a lot of different reasons, some to increase sales, some just drop down in the BSR, some just drop down in the star rating. Probably our biggest successes that we've had, some of our biggest clients are in the supplement space, just because in the US anyways, I know in the UK and Canada, it's not quite as bad with how aggressive it is. But US, man, I can tell you, we have, out of our 600 clients that we have, probably 8 or 9 of them are in the supplement space. And so what I mean by that is people will come to us and say, hey, listen, I feel like I'm being attacked. And we'll look at it and say, yeah, you are being attacked. And so that's where we have the highest success rate. Like, we do have other success rate with other categories, with all categories, but supplements has been the place where it's like they come in and they understand the value of the BSR and the star rating. They know it because they were at a 4.4. Then all of a sudden they wake up and they're at a 4.2. And it's like, wait, what just happened? And they go and they look at it and they go, hey, there's really nothing we can do. We just got to get more positive reviews. We got to do more PPC. And that's awesome. That's all stuff that maybe you need to do. But imagine if we were monitoring that and we were filing on it and keeping you at that 4.4 where you're sleeping. That's really where the value is at, right? Like, where it's just like, we had a client, he's actually out of Florida, which I feel like all supplement guys are out of Florida. But anyways, he was out of Florida and he came over to us. He was getting attacked. He was at a 4.2 and we got him right back up. And after I think it took a few weeks, we knocked down some reviews for him. He was back up to a 4.3 and he's got an amazing product, an organic product for like creatine and stuff like that. So yeah, man, those types of things, especially if they come in supplements, some people say, hey, do you think you can help me? I'm in supplements in the US. I'm like, I don't even need to look at your ASIN or your merchant token. I know for a fact we can help you if you have reviews there. It's just one of those things. So that's where we've seen probably the most success, where I've been really excited because we remove a good amount of reviews and they see that and then they can stay at that position, which is obviously the goal.
Yeah. What do you think's got the biggest impact? We're just kind of, thinking, you touched on the point there, which took me back a few years about, going out and getting more reviews to then counteract the poor reviews. Obviously Amazon are so hot on that. Like, they're so hot on it. Like, you can't really get away with, kind of sending out free product and asking friends to do a review. Like, again, even in the first sort of 3 or 4 years of working with Amazon brands, I've seen, brands or listings get taken down because Amazon have suspected what they call kind of fake reviews, or basically people be influencing the 5 stars. What do you think's the bigger impact of the two? Is it getting more 5-star reviews, or do you think it's removing the negative reviews?
Well, I can say that it's removing the negative reviews, and that's not just because that's what we do. Because once again, if you talk about the weighted average of 1 star versus a 5-star, it's just going to be weighted a lot heavier. Like I said, I've read articles and we've done research anywhere from 10 to 25 stars is when we remove a 1-star. So the problem was before, nobody thought that was possible. So that wasn't an option. If you thought about it, you're like, well, I just have to get more 4s and 5 stars, right? Or do higher PPC or increase my budget or do something, right? Get friends and family to write reviews, like whatever that is. The problem with that is, I mean, there's not a problem with it as long as you're not violating Amazon's guidelines. But the analogy I always use, it's like going on a diet, right? Like if you go on a diet and you eat good and you work out, you're going to lose weight faster. Just right. That's just how it goes. If you only eat right and you don't work out, it's going to be slow. Or if you only eat right and you don't work out, then there we go. Like, so that's your 50%. Let's say if they're equal, proportion equally on what's going to equal success for you, then that's what we're looking at, right? I mean, that's going to be what it is. And so I always recommend, and once again, always going after the 1, 2s, and 3s, critical reviews, but always getting 4 stars and 5 stars. There are some different ways of doing that. There's a company that I don't know if anybody's heard of called Swapped. It's a buddy of mine, Andrew, that he just got accepted by Amazon. He's a great, great guy. Anyways, that's somebody that they do QR codes, and Amazon actually has improved it. So for positive reviews. So I just talked to him. He's a great, great guy, built a great product, is in contact with Amazon to stay compliant. So I always like to find what I can for sellers, any good way to get more positive reviews, right? Because it's that's hard too. It's not an easy thing to do, So that's our thing is trying to find, people that can be able to do that we can say, hey, we know they're compliant, they're good people, and great. On the other side, obviously we can take care of the negative reviews. So I would say taking care of the negative reviews, and that's not just because I own TraceFuse, but because that has the biggest impact. It just will over time.
I think like thinking about it mathematically, as a general rule, you're always going to have way more 5-star reviews than you are 1, 2s, possibly 3s. So just by that math, really, if you get a 1-star removed, the percentage will shift further than adding a 5-star, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's just quite interesting. I never, ever thought of it that way.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. Right with the math. I mean, because you think about it, if you have 500 5 stars and you have 51 stars, we move 1 star here, guess what? I mean, you have a ton of 5 stars. You're going to start to see that transition happen a lot faster, right? So yeah, you're 100% correct. If you just think about the math and not an algorithm or anything, but just logically, obviously it makes sense.
Yeah, interesting. Awesome. It's been amazing talking to you, Shane. I know you're a super busy guy, so I don't want to keep you too much longer, but how can people get hold of you if they want to get in touch?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go ahead and go over to tracefuse.ai. That's TRACEFUSE.ai. And you can reach out to us. We actually have a free tool that I was going to tell Ant about. It's an Amazon review checker tool where you can actually go in, put in your own ASIN. And what will happen is you verify your email address, and then we'll send you a report and you guys can file on it on your own. You guys don't even need to use TraceFuse. So we also have a PDF that we'll give you on showing you how to file. Our goal really is to help sellers. So I always tell them, hey, try that first. Go in, see if you can get some reviews removed. And if you don't need us, that's awesome. But we will always be kind of the backup quarterback, the backup goalie, depends on where you're listening to us from, right? We'll always be that, right? And we want to be that, on the back of the scene. So you just can go there. It's the Amazon review checker. We'll give you the link in the notes as well. And then if anybody wants to reach out to me, it's very, very easy. I keep it simple, just Shane@tracefuse.ai, just my full name. And that will obviously send an email over to me. And you guys can also follow me on LinkedIn, which is just going to be, just look up Shane Barker. I'll probably be one of the, I hate to say number 1, but I'll be up there. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. So yeah. It'd be awesome.
Awesome. Yeah, amazing. We're right at the start of a really exciting partnership ourselves. And Lee, I'm really looking forward to doing more stuff with you guys. Super exciting business. So yeah, obviously we'll stay in touch, and hopefully there'll be more stuff to come from us in the future as well.
We're cooking up quite a few things, my friend. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome. Listen, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, I look forward to the next one.
Awesome. Thanks, Ant.